Reality TV has always been such a detriment to our society. They can suck you in for hours at a time, and they never really actually bring you any kind of substance, and at times can actually ruin the reputation of one of the contestants. Well, today's story that we'll be covering is a story from the Ice Cream Man, something that we haven't touched on in a very long time. And this is a story that would show just how dangerous these shows can really be. Because today, we will see a man browsing these reality TV shows with his family until he's inevitably sucked into one. And with this would come across a slew of living mannequins, all the way to a cooking show where they would have to assemble an actual human body, and all the way to something that would resemble The View if only it was hosted by zombies. And for the most part, it's just a story that makes me laugh and it makes me smile because it is so incredibly ridiculous and at the same time so fun. And before we get into this video, I would like to say happy Halloween to everybody, as I'm sure this video will be coming out right before or right after, and I'm very sorry that I wasn't able to do my Halloween special this year with my hard drive being completely wiped out and the video that I was creating completely deleted. It is something that we're going to have to get to in the future, but for now, let's just sit down and let's have some fun and dip back into the Ice Cream Man, into his very own show in a mystical dimension that we have never quite seen before. Tonight, on a very special episode of Ice Cream Man TV Story, trapped in a carousel of reality TV shows, you won't believe what happens. The stakes have never been higher. Prepare to be shocked and tune in. Lickety split. And with this last panel, we would see the Ice Cream Man himself, a character that we would see throughout this entire book in a bunch of different versions, starring as his very own host throughout all these different TV shows. For the next panel, we would come across our very main character, Will Parson, a writer and a person who happens to be extremely confused. I'm not sure how long it's been. 2, maybe 3 days. I was watching TV with my family, some dumb reality dating thing, and then, zap, I was in the show, competing for this girl's affection. But this, it's not. The show is different. The contestants, the girl, they're all shop mannequins. Tonight on Mannequin House. Gentlemen, this is Tiffany's final rose of the night. And as we would come to our very first reality TV show, we would see a mannequin woman standing there, completely featureless, and the only person that would stick out among all these different shop mannequins would be Will Parson himself. And as the host continues to explain the rules of the show, explaining that if you don't receive a rose, that you will be sent to the room for improvement. This leaves Will a little more concerned than confused. And as he looks over to his rival, a mannequin dressed in green, this featureless body would tell him to be quiet and that the woman is talking. Please know that you're also special to me, but some of you are less special, so you need to be improved. Mannequin 6, will you accept this rose? And as Mannequin 6 walks up to this featureless woman, he explains to her that if he could bend at the knee, that he absolutely would. And as we look to the background, we would see Will, the only person without a rose. And with this, the host would come up and explain to him that he must leave, and that he must be sent to the improvement room. And as 2 security mannequins walk up to him, grab him by the arms, Will begin to scream, calling out for Tiffany. And I gotta say, probably the best name for a mannequin woman that I could ever really think of, explaining to her,
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
and to please God, don't let them take him away, as he has no idea exactly what this room for improvement is exactly going to be. And with this, Tiffany only says that she didn't want to break Will's heart. And with the next couple of panels, we would see Tiffany sitting alone by herself and talking to the camera, not unlike any other reality TV show that we've ever seen, and it manages to be something that absolutely cracks me up throughout this story, explaining that while she is a mannequin, she isn't shallow, and she has like depth and stuff, and pontificating that she's here for love. I got the feeling that he didn't even want to be here. He'd say things like, please, I don't want to be here. And it's like, stop sending mixed signals, guy. Say what you mean. Anyway, I couldn't get past his face. All those features. And with the next panel, we would once again cut over to the security mannequins, pulling Will into this dark and weird hallway between all these different reality shows. And as he continues to scream out in the void, wondering exactly where these people are taking him, one would look down at him and say no more face, and pointing at a door that says improvement room. And suddenly Will is able to escape, running down the hallway and opening the only door that isn't locked. And this would bring us to our next show. You're now watching Family Autopsy. What? And here comes our next contestant, Mr. Will Parson. Let's prep him for surgery, boys. You know the rules. And as Will stands looking around, we would see him in this large stadium with this giant body sitting on the floor with a giant question mark. And as all these different mannequins come about, putting a gown over him and actually handing him a surgery scalpel, telling him that he has 30 minutes to figure out how this man next to him has died. That he'll literally have to cut open and search through his organs to find the cause of death. And when he looks down at this body, he would realize that this is none other than his Uncle Bob, this man who was sitting there watching the TV with him. And Will has absolutely no idea how this man could even be dead. He explains that his mother just talked to him last week and that he was coming over for dinner. And as he stands there shocked, we would see yet another host come out. Some man looking exactly like the Ice Cream Man as he explains, "Your loved ones will vanish from this world, like ice cubes in the sun." And with this, the crowd around Will begin to chant, "What killed Bob? Will Parson, open that uncle!" I could have called him more. I just get so busy. Wait, I'm dead? I could have texted. A text is such a simple thing, and I'm on my phone all the time. Was it the cigarettes that did it? The smoking? But I lose touch, and all my relationships just fizzle out. Willie, is that you? Was it the smoking that laid poor Bob low? Or was it the bad music in his blood? And as Will is looking all around him, we would see a slew of different skeletons and mannequins alike all screaming to him to open that body. Such a terrifying idea for a show, and it's something that I really only think could happen in a movie like Idiocracy or even an interdimensional cable from Rick and Morty, and I think it shows that the author of this, Maxwell Prince, just has an absolute blast every single time he sits down to write an issue of the Ice Cream Man. But as Will looks down at his dead uncle's body, he realizes that he can't do it, and we manage to see him just storming off through another door into our next reality show, and it is something a little more familiar. Welcome back to Chopped! 4 chefs, 3 courses, and only 1 chance to win. The challenge? Create something resembling a person from the person parts in your mystery baskets. And as we see Will standing in this new room next to a dog man, a ghoul, and yet another mannequin, he will look into these baskets, seeing foots and all these different body parts, and wondering if this is some sort of cooking show, and wondering just exactly what this host was saying by creating a person. But yet again, no one will answer his questions, and we only see the announcer go off once again, ready to explain the mystery parts, as we would see the mannequin holding a foot, the dog man also holding a foot, and when it comes down to Will Parson, he would look down and see teeth in a bowl. And something that only adds injury to insult, as it wouldn't really matter that he autopsied this man in the previous show, and to me it only displays that the Ice Cream Man really wants this man to suffer. But with the final panel, we would see the ghoul, or the zombie, or whatever you want to call this man, holding a pile of kale and not really knowing what he could possibly do with this. And once again, we would cut over to an individual shot where Will would explain to us that he was never able to get into cooking. I tried getting into cooking. Meal kits, one-pot books, fad diets, you name it, but nothing. It never sticks, and I get distracted by my phone, or the TV, or some gadget that separates me from the real world. It's gotten so hard to exert focus, sustained attention on any one thing. Does anybody else feel like that? Is anybody even watching the show? You've got 20 minutes on the clock to cook up your ad hoc individual. Time starts now! And with this, Will has finally had enough. After having to autopsy his own uncle, all the way to finding his teeth in a bowl, he decides that he's not going to be participating in this flavor of madness. And as he throws his hands up, running to the nearest door once again, he would find himself in yet another reality TV show. One that would be even worse than all the other ones that he's been into. And one that would be judged by all the different Ice Cream Men of this story. Konnichiwa, suckers, and welcome to America's Got Intestines! And as Will is brought into this black room, with only a desk in front of him, as he looks at these 3 individuals, one being the original Rick the Ice Cream Man, and a second one that seems to be an older version of himself, and with the third being a man who would resemble a little bit of Simon Cowell, in attitude and in appearance. As he explains that Will's performances have been such rubbish. And with the next panel, Rick the Ice Cream Man would go on to explain that he's never seen such terrible intestines ever in his life. And Will really has no idea what this man's talking about, until he looks down at his feet and sees the gorge mess down below him, as his intestines reach out to the floor, and this man is suddenly in shock, seeing all red and calling out for all this to stop, until the floor below him would eventually give out, as each and every judge has hit the button, sending this man into a place that we've heard about in the Ice Cream Man stories basically through the entirety of every video that I've made. The Sweet Place. And a place where we would actually come to see one of the characters that I covered in my last Halloween video. The man who would actually go on to help his dead friend's father dig up his child's body so he could give him one last hug. And as Will lays on this dark dungeonous floor, he can only think to himself to just make it all stop, as he reaches down to his stomach, trying to ensure that his intestines are held perfectly in place. And as he does so, we would see this character approach him and ask him if he had been X'd out as well. We all get X'd out eventually, like ice cubes in the sun. Where are we? It's got plenty of names. The sweet place, the room for improvement, the ice cream shop. But what it's called isn't important. What matters is what it is. It's a food pantry. They hit my arm and called it brunch. But who's they? The people upstairs. And as we cut over to the next panel, we would see ourselves viewing another reality TV show, something resembling a daytime talk show, only this time the hosts are all zombies. And instead of maybe having Rachel Ray come out and maybe cook us a nice flambe, these people would feast on the living flesh of all these poor souls sucked in through their own TVs. I'm starving. Oh my god, me too. You're always hungry, Carrie. Are you calling me fat? Oh my god, you're such an effing drama queen. Wait, are you calling me a drama queen? All I said was that she's always hungry. People judge me, but what gives them the right? I'm always hungry too. I'm a zombie, just like everybody else. We're all zombies, right? You sit and laugh and call us all names, but guess what? You're still watching. 19 seasons and you still can't even look away. Where's the food? Mannequin? And with these strange zombie women still having normal day-to-day problems, bickering amongst themselves, they would appear to be very hungry. And as they call out for their chef, we would cut to the next panel where we'd see yet another mannequin cutting up somebody's foot. Possibly Uncle Bob's, but this is unconfirmed. But as they continue to keep calling out his name, we would see him get extremely irritable, throwing down his knife and his apron and walking out the door and going back to the sweet place, to the food pantry, to the room for improvement. And as we see him slam this door open, we would see Will and the man next to him look up in shock, completely terrified for what could happen next, as this man calls out for both arms. And with this, the man that's standing beside Will would seem to think that it is his turn to be brunch. And as this mannequin comes storming down the stairs in a very terrifying manner, grabbing him and dragging him all the way up, as Will screams out that he does not want to be brunch. And with this, the man left in the sweet place would say that nobody ever wants to be brunch, that no one ever does. And with the next panel, we would see Will Parson tragically strapped down to the table, as all these zombie women begin to encircle him, getting ready for their feast, as well as basically completely naked other than a pair of Ice Cream Man underwear. And something that I wonder if this is kind of like a real world piece of merch that maybe Maxwell Prince is trying to shill to us. And if it is, I would love to buy it. But as Will is sitting there screaming, these zombies would seem to have a bit of a heart-to-heart. Carrie, I'm sorry about before. You know I think you're beautiful. Oh, we're all beautiful. That's why people love us. Now, let's have some brunch, girls. And with a matter of seconds, they would all dip down and begin to tear Will Parson apart. And I gotta say, there's no death on this planet that I think could be any worse than being eaten alive by zombies. I think through countless movies and television shows, this is by far the most gruesome and terrifying death because you could remain alive for so long. But this is only my personal opinion. Comment down below what you think the worst death on the planet could ever possibly be. But with the next panel, we would cut over to the seemingly normal television room, as we see a scream coming out from the television, and from the room adjacent to it, we would see this young girl sitting there texting on her phone, as her parents call out to turn the TV down. That all it is with them these days are screens. And at this point, nobody's really noticed that Will Parson is gone, and that possibly the screaming that is ringing out through this house through this television would be his. And as they all sit down for dinner, this young girl would explain that she hasn't seen Uncle Bob or Will. And with this, we would find out that even their house is being filmed for yet another reality television show. And something that could possibly be feeding into a much larger thing. Something much darker than a little bit of family drama. Let's take 5 and then we'll shoot again from the other side, so that Jerry's got plenty to work with in the editing booth. But seriously, where are they? And as everybody's walking out of the dining room, preparing for their next shot, where we would see a family portrait of Will, his Uncle Bob, and the rest of the family, saying, "Find out next week on the Missing Parsons." And as we would end our story with Will and Uncle Bob with their faces X'd out, it only leaves me to wonder if this will be something continued in a later Ice Cream Man issue. And while it is a simpler, more shorter story, I think this is definitely one of the more fun stories out of this entire thing. All these different reality shows of terror, of misery, of Rick the Ice Cream Man basically just doing whatever he wants to whoever he wants. It's just a story that I really did appreciate, and something that I was really glad to share with you guys, because Maxwell Prince overall does such a good job at actually tying all of his stories together. Even when I did that Let's Talk video about the Haha comic with all the different sad clowns and all these different clown adventures, even with that managed to tie itself into the Ice Cream Man, giving us all these little Easter eggs and bringing back characters. And I think that these are a set of short stories that I'm just going to love forever, because it's such a creative and a unique idea, something that obviously resembles a lot from It the Clown, but maybe even having a little more pull, a little more power. And I can only hope that one day we'll get an Ice Cream Man issue where maybe these two things collide, where maybe It and Rick can actually kind of duke it out and have Caleb come in at the end. I think that would honestly be amazing. But yes, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm sorry it's a shorter one and that I wasn't able to hit that Halloween deadline, but like I said, with that video getting completely erased and me not like filming anything for 3 weeks due to me just editing that, I'm a little bit rusty and I need to kind of dip down into some of these more shorter things to get myself back into the swing of things. And yeah, I hope it was still enjoyable, and I thank you all so much for watching. In the next weeks to come, you might see me occasionally streaming from time to time on the weekends. And also, look down in the description as I finally opened up a Discord where maybe we can all possibly sit down and talk to each other in real time. Voice to voice, where I can actually learn your names, and maybe we can even play some games together. But anyways, everybody, I would like to make this channel more of kind of a community thing. I would like to actually get to know a couple of you, as you guys talk to me so much down in the comments, and I think it would be amazing. But anyways, everybody, once again, thank you so much for watching from the heart, and I will see you on the next episode with more stories to come, and hopefully a few new different series. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you on the next one.